Okay, here we go, and I'm going to give you a demonstration of the assignment that I would like you to start. And where we're going to start is with a color wheel. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with the color wheel. And I've done a 12 section color wheel here. And the project that I want you to do, you can do either 6 or 12. So it's entirely up to you. If you're ambitious, go ahead and give the 12 a try. I'm sure some of you think that you've done this before and you may not need to do it again. And my hope is that you understand it in the same way that a musician always knows to practice their scales and that an athlete always knows how to do that they should be doing their drills and or their warm-up exercises or whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I would like you to do a color wheel, and one of the real challenges to watercolor is making consistent colors across all of any area. Doing washes is something we'll cover in a different video, but in this one, in this project, what I want you to do is try and make your colors as solid as possible. If you look closely at what I've done, you'll see that they're not totally solid, but this is to show you this is as close as you need to get. And hopefully it makes sense. So what I've got here is I've got the 12 section color wheel, and you're all familiar with the primary colors. Some people might think that the primary colors are RGB, red, green, and blue, but that's only the case for on-screen color. And red, blue, and yellow are the three primaries for anything done with pigments, because the way it works is you can't make red, blue, or yellow with any combination of any of the other colors, but you can make the secondary colors violet, orange, and green by combining red and yellow for orange, yellow and blue for green, and red and blue for violet. So here are the 6 that I would like you to do. And so what I would ask you to do is just basically divide it up into 6 sections. And it can just be an approximation. If you look closely here, you'll see that this segment is visibly bigger than this segment and this one. And if you look, this segment is bigger than this one. So it just has to be ballpark size. So just get it reasonably close. So these are the 6 colors that I would like you to use. And what I would like is that you try and mix your colors. Because if you look closely, this is not really the kind of yellow that we would think of as a yellow. We usually think yellow has a little bit more snap than this. And I mixed this down a little bit. It's still a yellow, but it's kind of a muted yellow, because if at all possible, I would like all of the colors in the color wheel to have the same value, as in the same quality of lightness and darkness, because it really helps understand the color wheel better if all the colors are the same value. So see if you can do that. And that means it's going to take a little bit of mixing to get the kind of red that I'm hoping for. And so I used 3 reds to get this one. I used 2 different greens to get this. And I used 3 blues to get this. And that way you learn that a lot of times the best colors are ones that you make even for the pure primary colors. So now, the 3 secondary colors, I definitely want you to mix them. So if you've got an orange, if you've got a violet, and if you've got a green in your tubes or in your pan, you can start with that, but I want you to mix it so that you get something that is clearly not bluish and not yellowish for the green. So if you look at this green, it doesn't really have a lot of yellow in it. This green has a lot of yellow in it. This green has a lot of blue in it. So this is blue green and this is yellow green. And the same thing all the way around the wheel. For instance, this would be red violet. This would be red. This would, let's see, no, that, uh-oh. This would be red, this would be red orange, and there's orange. So that's what I would like you to do. So we've got the 3 primaries, 3 secondaries, and if you get ambitious, you can then do the 6 tertiary colors. Okay, so secondary is obviously the second level of colors, and that's achieved by mixing a primary, and then when you mix a secondary and a primary together, then you get the tertiary colors. And so here they are, and that if anybody's curious, the tertiary colors are always named by having the primary color first. So yellow, orange, red, violet, so forth and so on. So the next thing to cover is color schemes. And so a common color scheme is what's called analogous. So analogous colors are colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel. And so here is a 3-color analogous color scheme if you leave out the tertiary ones. So if you include the tertiary colors, we have a 5-color color scheme where you don't have any radical contrast. And that's because all of these colors are next to each other on the color wheel. If you're going to have, and then if you're going to expand it, you can get into a broader palette. And so this would be a more complete analogous color scheme. And this occupies almost the entire half of the color wheel. So next we'll go to what is my favorite and what is most common when you get into more dramatic contrast is working with complements. Complements are opposite each other on the color wheel. And it's really important to understand the relationship between complementary colors. So complements are here. This is blue and orange. Another complement is red and green. Another complement is violet and yellow. Okay? Now, the most common color scheme, besides analogous, is what's called a modified triad. And so what you've got is you got a complementary relationship, red and green, and then you're going to pick a primary color on one side or the other of the green. And the way this works is you would decide on what is going to be your dominant color. So let's say red's going to be your dominant color. So then your secondary color is going to be green. Then you're going to have yellow as an accent. And then let's say we have a different modified triad where we have blue, orange, and yellow. So we would have, let's say we would have blue as the dominant color, orange as the complement, and then yellow as the accent. My recommendation is that you use the primary color as the dominant color until you get so good you're in all the museums. So up here we have a grayscale. Now what I want to point out to you in this grayscale is the fact this is no color at all. So that's just pure white, pure paper, and it's just there as a mental placeholder. But all of the colors, all of the grays that I mixed here, well, this black, none of them are straight from the pan or straight from the tube. You can't really tell here because this is on a computer screen, but this is black, violet, and burnt umber combined. And when you paint with a black like that, you get a much fuller and much more lustrous black that is nice to look at as a color. If you just use black from the pan or from the tube, it ends up looking kind of flat and not very interesting. And this is one of the key things I would like you to understand. When you use combinations of colors, even to achieve relatively neutral colors like these grays, you're going to get a much richer experience for the viewer if you are using color to make your gray rather than diluting black or using a gray, because there is watercolor gray, okay, and it usually comes in tubes. I don't know if they make watercolor gray for pans, but anyway, so this gray here is a combination of some black, some blue, and some orange. Okay, and this one here is yellow and violet and some black. So what the idea here is that you make your black and then you make a gray that is as close as you can manage, exactly halfway between black and white. And once you get that painted, then you paint another gray, which is halfway between this middle gray and the black. And then once you get that done, you go back here and you make a gray that is halfway between. All of this is requested of you because I believe understanding color and controlling your color is crucial to the success of your images, because very basic images can be very powerful and effective through the proper use of color. And the proper use of color allows you to generate feeling when someone looks at your work without being constrained by what I would refer to as realistic depiction or skillful rendering. So through the use of color, you can easily convey emotional content without relying so much on the narrative or the pictorial quality of your work. And when you are going to work with narrative and pictorial elements, proper understanding of how to work with color can take what is an impressive rendering, as in a drawing of an animal, a person, or a landscape, and transform that into a powerful personal experience. That's how most of the great artists have worked, because the great artists that we might want to think of in terms of realistic depiction of the natural world or industrial world or whatever, the really impressive practitioners of that level of craft, not only were they skilled at recreating what it looked like, they were also very skilled with using color to increase the impact of meaning. So I really want to encourage you to start looking at that aspect of your art and of the art that you engage, and understand how the use of color is crucial to the effect that they hope to achieve. So this is the first thing I want you to do. A color wheel of 6 or 12 colors, followed by the 5 square black to white transition. So next we'll get to the other thing that I want. And right now all you see is black. And that's because I've got this. There we go. So what we've got here is, you saw the black to white graduation on the previous paper. And what I would like you to do here is go from pure primary to secondary by mixing only the primary and secondary. So here we have yellow and violet, and here we have yellow with a little bit of violet. Here we have yellow with more violet. Here we have violet with some yellow. So here we have red, here we have green, here we have green with some red, green and red mixed reasonably equally, although that looks more red than I would like. And then here, this is red with green. So these are challenging. This took me some work, and I'm not sure I'm entirely successful. This one doesn't look quite right. See, this one does not necessarily look violet or yellow. It looks like its own color. But this one here, it kind of looks red. Okay, and so I would like this square here to not look reddish. Okay, so that I wouldn't be able to say that it's either red or green. So coming down here, we've got orange and we've got blue. And here, if you notice, if I said, well, is this orange or blue? Somebody might say it's orange, but for the most part, this is reasonably neutral. So that's what I want you to get done. Okay. Now, I'm going to open up this one. And then the other part of the assignment is to do a pure primary graduated wash from pure color at one end to pure paper on the other end. Okay, so a graduated wash like this is really important to your success in working with watercolors, and so this is a good chance for you to practice that. So this will be a lot of fun. This is real challenging, and I really like this exercise because one of the things I would like you to be able to incorporate in your watercolors is an understanding that muted shades, shadows, and anything other than the pure pigment is best achieved by using colors to soften it and darken it rather than use black or white. Okay, So that's what I'd really like you to learn. For instance, look at this blue-gray here. I think this is a really nice color. Um, this is a nice color. This one, not so much, but this is a nice color. You know, this is a color that you can put to good use, and this one's a good color. Shadows painted this color rather than gray are going to be very dynamic and very attractive. So this is where we start. And what I would like you to do is work on this at your own pace. And if enough of you get all of this done soon enough, I'll give you a secondary assignment that you can then do for homework, which hopefully you'll enjoy a whole lot. And if you don't get this done within the time that we have available, keep on working on it and we'll see what you got next week. Okay? So that's where we start. And I am looking forward to seeing your work. And good luck.